Chinese people are very straightforward. They're honest, they're workaholics. The first time I went to China, it was they asked me to come at 8 o'clock. I said I get up at 7 or 8. How can I? And I when I came to know, which is very good. To start early is very, very good. Mm-hmm. So they are straightforward, honest workaholics, and they are very friendly. My name is Kaushal Goyal. I joined my father's business of book selling. And that time we were only selling books. And I joined it in 1976. So it is 46 years I'm in this business. We were retailing and selling books on retail and wholesale. And then in 2008, 7-8, I visited Beijing. And there was Beijing Book Fair going on. So that's how I met some Chinese publishers. Mm-hmm. And I started with Chinese books.
And some people said that Mr. Goyal is the only Indian publisher I've ever met who is dedicated to publishing English edition or Hindi edition of Chinese books. So what makes you so supportive of Chinese books and the Chinese culture?
This is what I tell everyone every time I go to China. We believe in India, we believe in rebirth. So maybe in my previous birth, I was a Chinese, or maybe in my future birth, I'll be a Chinese. I don't know why, but the first time I went to China was in 2003. Mm-hmm. And that time I visited Zhuhai and Guangzhou. Mm-hmm. And then also I like Chinese people because we are similar. Indians and Chinese are very similar. And then after 2007-8, when I went there, I published their Chinese language books. Chinese readers, mm-hmm. 1, 2, 3, 4 volumes. And that's how I got introduced to Chinese language. And there was nobody in India was doing Chinese books because there is not good market in India. Very few students were studying Chinese, and that also in graduation level. In schools, we still don't have Chinese. So, and then I started visiting China again and again and again. And I don't know, I'm in love with China.
We know that you publish a lot of Chinese books. So I think the audience is very curious about what is the process of publishing Chinese books overseas. So is it difficult to do it, or how long does it take to publish a book and successfully? So can you share it with us?
Yeah. Actually, in the beginning, I was publishing these language books, Mandarin language learning books. Mm-hmm. So for those, I used to pay advance to the publishers and then take copyright and then publish. But since 2016, I got to know that Chinese publishers have funds for translation and publishing in all other countries. Mm-hmm. So that was a very good point. So when I go to China, we make an agreement with Chinese publishers, different publishers. But I have agreements with about 40-50 publishers who are doing business with me only. Mm-hmm. So we sign an agreement, then they apply for funds. There are 3 or 4 types of funds. One is Belt and Road Book Program. The other is CBI, China Books International. And then they apply for the books, and then lucky ones get the funds. So when I go to BIBF and otherwise also, I sign about 30 to 40 agreements in one time. And then out of those, 5 to 10 books got selected, and we get funds. Mm-hmm. And then translation, if you ask me, translation from Chinese to English, or sometimes, the books are already in English, so we do it from English to Hindi, is not difficult. It's not difficult at all. Mm-hmm. But when we get a book from Chinese to Hindi, mm-hmm. then it is because that can be done only with the qualified professors, and they don't have time, first of all, and secondly, they are not good in Hindi. So what they do is they translate from Chinese to English, then they give it to their students to translate from English to Hindi, and that takes a lot of time. And we are still stuck with some books which we were supposed to finish by December 2021. But I asked them to please extend some time. Usually they give 1.5 years to 2 years to finish the book.
Wow, 2 years.
To translation, and because translation is a very tedious job. I used to visit China 4 to 5 times a year.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. Since 2016 to 2019, I had visited maybe more than 20 times.
You are a regular visitor to Chinese embassy in India and often attend various cultural events in India and China. So do you have any memorable experience that you can share with us?
Chinese embassy, I know all the ambassadors since 2016, all the cultural consulars, and I am always welcome there. Because my name is Goyal. My second name is Goyal. If you remember L, Koya. So I thought, I told him I am not worthy of this. But when I go to China, or maybe Chinese embassy also, I really feel on top of the mountains. They give me so much respect, and I also feel like a Chinese. In 2019, January, my son got married. And there were 13 people from China who came and attended the wedding. And that was very memorable.
Yeah, you must have many Chinese friends. So what do you think of the Chinese book market? Do you think the current Chinese book market is saturated, or is there much more room for development?
In China, it is already saturated because all the publishers are publishing similar books. Like every publisher has at least 5 to 10 books on Belt and Road, and about Xi Jinping. So, but in India, still there is demand. And what we publish, because in India, English is a language of the Indian people. So when we publish Hindi books, don't sell much, but in English we get good demand, especially books on Belt and Road and other.
So what is the acceptance of Chinese books of foreigners? Do they like Chinese books?
Yeah, they do. I find there is no difference between Chinese people and Indian people. And that includes people from Hong Kong also. And then people want to know about China. And in India, even I before I had gone to China in 2003-04, before that, I didn't know much about China. So when I tell them stories after coming back, they are really surprised. Even I am surprised. When I visited Beijing first time in 2007-08, the roads were full of bicycles. Now you hardly see any bicycle. If you go to the suburb, maybe there are few people bicycling, but otherwise nobody uses bicycle anymore. And the development China has done in last 10-15 years is beyond the imagination.
Our young generation is the future of the nation. So we also would like to know, how do university students or maybe young people in India today think about China and the Chinese culture? Do you have any examples?
In last few years, many Indian students have joined Chinese universities. Before, Indian students were going only to learn Chinese or to study further Chinese language. But now I heard there were more than 20,000 students studying medical science in China. So now more and more people have come to know that China and Chinese people are very friendly. And, and second is I love Chinese food. I love Chinese. Chinese Procurator General, he invited my friends and me to Guangzhou and Zhuhai. And there we were having dinner with the Chinese governor of Guangzhou. I was eating in the middle of eating, and then the interpreter came. Oh, stop. I said, what happened? I said, beef. You Hindu, beef. I said, did you import this cow from India? She said, no, Chinese cow. I said, then I can eat. Indian cow is like mother to me. All other countries, cow I can eat. So after that, I tell everyone that don't tell me what is what. I will eat. If I like it, I will eat it. If I don't like it, then I will leave it.
Chinese Consul General in Kolkata, Zhang Liu, called
Yeah.
a joint effort further to promote economic and trade cooperation between China and India. So do you think India can become one of the key development partners of the Belt and Road Initiative? So what do you think it will bring to India?
Books actually is a very small part. I mean, trade links we already have with China, and even even for our festivals, Diwali, Holi festivals, the colors all come from China. So otherwise also trade is already developed between China and India. And whereas books is concerned, I am really after promoting relationship between India and China in a big way. For last 6 years, 7 years, I'm trying my level best to open a Chinese cultural center in India. A Chinese books and cultural center, which I am not able to. I met few publishers in Beijing, and they offered to help me also with lots of funds. But then they wanted only their books to be there and only their products to be there. But I said, no, I can, give them more space. But I want all the publishers, all the books, Chinese books. Then I want to display Chinese tea making and Chinese opera, Chinese pottery. I want Chinese embassies ready to help me in all the way. But, I need a big place, a space to open it, for which I met many Chinese businessmen. They offered to help, but then they had conditions that you will do like this. I said, no, if you want to help, I am not commercial in that. I don't want to earn anything out of it. I just want to promote Chinese culture in India, and then maybe after that, open Indian Cultural Center in China. And in India also, people in India, they don't, know about Chinese people and their culture also. The only things we know about Confucius, everyone knows. Mao, everyone knows. Now Xi Jinping, everyone knows. Great Wall of China, people know. Beijing, they know. Shandong, maybe they know. But other places, they don't know anything about China. We are neighbors for years. And out of the 7, 8 ancient civilizations, only 2 civilizations, Indian and Chinese, are still surviving. Not only surviving, they're prospering. They're developing very fast. So I want both of them to go together. Dragon and elephant can dance together.
So some data sufficiently demonstrate that the strong demand for Sino-Indian economic cooperation is an irreversible fact. So how do you think this cooperation can be deepened in your field, maybe in the book market?
Book market, so I am doing my level best, and I will keep on doing more and more. Even when I don't earn much, still I love to publish Chinese books. More economic and commercial ties between China and India, I am ready to do it. But I'm a very small person. I'm financially, I'm very small. But still, whatever way I can help or do, I'm ready to do. And now for last 2 years, I've not been able to visit Chinese embassy or even China. I feel miserable.
So far, what is your favorite Chinese book? What kind of a book would you recommend it to Hong Kong young people?
The children books. This is one of the books we published. This I like very much. And then I like to read Confucius, Art of War.
This year marks the 25th anniversary of handover of Hong Kong to China. So what kind of changes have you witnessed when you visit Hong Kong these years?
So I had been there many times before, but it pains me. It hurts when I hear in the news protests in Hong Kong. Once I visited Hong Kong, then there was book fair also. I met some Hong Kong publishers also, but that was again in 2008-9. And I would love to do Cantonese books also. So there are so many conferences, so many fairs happening in Hong Kong.
We know that Chinese President Xi Jinping came up with the Chinese dream, and it has since become a buzzword both at home and abroad. From your point of view, or according to your experience, What is the Chinese dream? Do you have any suggestions for younger generations about how to stick their dreams or pursue their dreams?
Every country has a dream. So, yeah. But in the word, I've published few books about Chinese dream also. The Chinese dream includes the values, the culture, the ancient culture, and values of China. They don't want to lose that. First of all, I would tell everyone, which I tell everyone I meet, that you should read books. So the education and reading books makes you above everything. So while editing these books or writing about them, I've come to know so much information, and it helps you develop. Anyone, even I have published about Hitler also. Mm-hmm. So people say, why you publish about Hitler? I said, I want people to know about him, what he did. Whether bad or good is different. A few years before, this whole room was full of my books. Old books which I had read 20 years before, 30 years before. I would keep it. And some of the books which I want to read in future, those also were here. So when a book comes to my office, I pick up the one which I want to read. But now I don't get time in last 5-6 years. But still, when I go out for a vacation or something, I read a book. So all the books, all the Chinese books which we publish, I do the final editing in English also and in Hindi also. So that way I don't get time to read, but I read. Otherwise, while editing, I read 2-3 times. So I get to know what it is. I love reading. I love writing. I love editing. I tell you. Can I tell you one more thing?
Yeah.
I have 4 children, 3 daughters and 1 son. And now they are all married. So before, whenever we used to go to Europe or any other place in the world, or even in India, when we go to Mumbai or someplace, so when we go to a shopping area, whenever I see a bookshop, I tell them, leave me here, and you come back in 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. I will be here.